It's the Career Seeker Show live on WPPM FM 106.5 Philadelphia. We are 100% excited to have my man PD, Paul Dunnaville, in the building, representing Project H.O.M.E. Been knowing Paul for quite some time. I think we just figured out it's been about 6 years. The numbers of people that me and this man have collaborated with to assist in gaining gainful employment. At sometimes it's just pretty impressive. So I would never claim credit for that. Paul works so hard with supporting the career seekers to walk in the door at Project H.O.M.E. We are really happy to have you, my friend, Paul Dunnaville.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome, welcome, Paul.
So, Paul, let me introduce you. Alberta, Bertolino, Tiff South, Will Martin. It's the career seeker team. Man, I don't know if I've spoken to you about the show. I saw Paul yesterday, so this is the fortunate part of me running around the city. I was at the Outdoor Career event, and then I went up to the Honickman Learning Center and Comcast Technology Labs and touched in with Paul. And he had a big smile on his face. He had sent me a message. He threw me the curveball. He said, look, I'm not going to be able to make it. But then I look up and he walks through the door. So I was happy to have him here today. Paul, talk to the listeners about what you do at Project H.O.M.E. Actually, speak to us about the Honickman Learning Center, the Comcast Technology Lab, Project H.O.M.E. It's so multi-tiered over there. You guys do a lot of stuff. Talk to us.
Right on, right on. I'll start with the long shot view for all your Philly Cam folks. Project H.O.M.E.'s been around for 25 years, and if you dissect the acronym HOME, H-O-M-E, H stands for housing, O stands for opportunity, M stands for medical, and E stands for education. As far as the Honickman Learning Center goes, we're like a beacon in the North Philadelphia community, and we are the E for education and a little bit of the O for opportunities. There's a lot of different things that go on at the Honickman Learning Center. There are programs for anywhere from preschool all the way up to adults. So we tap into every age group within the community. As far as the breakdown goes, we have a community partnership school, which serves preschool through 5th grade. We also have after-school programs for the same age group all the way up to 8th grade, and then continuing from 9th to 12th, we have a teen program, which is college access. The focus is trying to get them into college and sustained in college. So it's not just we drop them off and that's it. We stay in touch with them throughout. That's a really jumping program.
I'm sorry, Paul, did you go to Virginia Tech? Am I correct?
I did. I'm a Hokie, yes.
All right, sorry to hear that. But anyway, you can continue on. Sorry to hear that, but anyway, go ahead.
Wow.
He's so disrespectful with the school. So disrespectful.
Were you happy that Paul's here? You don't want him to walk right
I
out.
love Paul, but I had to, when he spoke about college, I had to throw the little Virginia Tech angle in there. But anyway.
Nothing wrong with that. So, I mean, there's a lot going on at the HLC, which we call it. And then as far as adults go, there's a heck of a lot going on. I mean, that's half of what I do. As a career coach, I actually work with people one-on-one, helping to find employment with their resumes, cover letters, interviews, the whole nine. But as far as the rest of the adult programming goes, we have a GED program, which is really huge. We have relationships with community college, with CCP, so folks that are actually in the GED program, if they want more, they can, kind of work with us, and we have, relationships with CCP. We have, what else do we have going on there? We have a food handlers program, which is like multi-tiered. They come in to us, interested whether or not they have experience or not. They come in and get a food handling certificate, and then they can move on to the managerial side, which also, is in relation with CCP and whatnot. We have college prep as well, so that's tied into the CCP program. So folks, again, if they want to get their GED and they want more, they can get involved in our college prep program. And as a matter of fact, we're accepting folks. We have a deadline in May, so if folks are interested in getting involved, they can give us a call. The same thing for the GED program. If they're interested, they can give us a call, and if they want to sign up. We have digital literacy programs, which are if you're an adult and you have issues or you're struggling trying to learn how to use a computer, we have folks that are very patient and that will work with you one-on-one and sit down with you and teach you how to use the computer. As y'all know, it's
Speaking of being patient, we would be remiss if we didn't mention Eric Smith, Greg, Gutman?
Gutman, yes.
And Aisha. Your team out there at Project H.O.M.E, man, they are outstanding. You guys did a career fair. When was that? About 2 weeks ago,
That
give
was
or
on
take?
the 30th of March.
I went out there. The place was full. It was unbelievable. I met a few people to listen to the Career Seekers show. We appreciate y'all, by the way. And actually, if you're listening now, please check in with us. Once again, 106.5 in Philly, the East Coast Executive Facebook page, at Tiff South, Instagram. We are all over the place at U.S. Career Seekers. Hit us on Twitter. But I was at the
At Alberta Recruits.
at Alberta Recruits. Tiff is broadcasting live. You broadcasting live as well? I love it. Okay. Paul, if you was at that career fair, right? You guys had a career fair. So what we wanted to speak about today was following up after the career fair. How do people follow up after the career fair? So as a career coach, what do you suggest that people do immediately after a career fair?
It's debrief.
Okay.
Like really, because there's a lot going on there. First of all, you should go in with a strategy. You know what I'm saying? You should go in there with a strategy, like what employers am I going to hit up? You know, like you really need to know that from if you can get your hand on a list of employers that's going to be there.
Do your research.
Right. Exactly.
And I know you do a good job of providing people with a list of the employers that will be at your events.
We do, because we feel it's really important to have a leg up. So if you're going in there and you have a leg up, coming out, you hopefully will still have that leg up. And land with a job.
See what you did there.
But the key is really following up and not giving up, because you're going to deal with a lot of rejection. You may not be that candidate that they're looking for initially, but get their contact information. Like get their business cards if they will allow you to have their contact information, and follow up. And I'm not saying be a pest, but just be diligent. Once a week, every other week, hit them up. Make sure you have a reason to call them though. A reason to hit them up. It's like you just can't go in there blindly, with no reason. You have to, have a reason, and the reason would be you're looking for a job. Maybe there's a specific job that you found that they were interested in. But definitely follow up. They may say we'll get back with you, but as we all know, employers are so busy,
Right.
and they have to deal with a huge stack of resumes that they get sidetracked, and that's real. So it's up to the job seeker to kind of own it and say, look, I'm gonna make this my priority.
Okay. So in thinking about what to include in that follow-up, what are some concrete things? If I just met someone at a career fair, I know that they have a position I'm really interested in, what should I include in that follow-up contact, that initial contact with that recruiter or employer?
First, that you met them at the fair.
Yes.
Make sure that you say, we met at the fair, because they meet so many people in various places, you got to kind of pinpoint that. So you really want to hone in and sharpen that relationship. So, tell them, look, we met at the fair, and, if there were some specific things that you discussed with them at the fair, bring that up again. Make sure that they know that information, because that's the story. Like if you tell them a story and you want them to remember you, go back to that initial story. Start there so they kind of have a refresher, and then go into your pitch. Tell them what you're interested in, what kind of job you're looking for,
And hopefully they've had the opportunity to view the company's website, and they have a specific rec number or a specific job opportunity that they're interested in.
Right.
Listen, we're recruiters, and sometimes we can be very lazy people. So you have to show us exactly what it is. Yeah. So sometimes you need to tell us, listen, I recently applied to XYZ position. And, we met at the career fair, definitely, but I recently applied to XYZ position. Actually, we just posted on the East Coast Executive Facebook fan page, there's a list of templates, even of letters for mailing and or email that people can use as a guide to send out to these recruiters, because I think, to your point, it's very important to debrief, basically get organized, and then you start reaching out. But I think it's also important to make sure, if you have a LinkedIn profile, that it's tight, that it's polished, because what's going to happen is, Alberta probably will speak to this as well, once a recruiter receives an email from a candidate, we're going to research the candidate before we get back in contact with them.
Right.
So
Often that's absolutely true, and not only on LinkedIn, but maybe on any of the social media accounts, which we were talking about a little bit earlier. Keep it tight, like Kenneth just said.
I think I heard the statistic that 80% of employers check social media when at
It's
some
something
point in
very
the
high.
process. When you're trying to consider hiring a candidate. There was something that you mentioned, Kenneth, that I was going to make a point about, as far as your LinkedIn, your LinkedIn page, have a LinkedIn page.
Oh.
And I think a lot of people think that I don't know what I should put on there. Well, there's a lot of resources about what you can put on a LinkedIn page, but don't make an excuse about not having one.
Yeah.
And if you have one, don't have it look raggedy because
Right.
that's gonna
Or
reflect negatively on you.
Make sure it's updated too.
Right.
Yeah.
No real close whack selfie.
No way.
Like 'cause you don't have to go get a professional picture.
No.
You can use your regular camera
Yeah.
and take a good picture of yourself.
Blank wall
You know,
behind you.
And
Right.
to your point, to your point about making sure it's updated, make sure it matches the resume that you provided
That's
to the
what I was
actual
gonna
Yeah,
employer as
I've
well.
got
That was what I
many
was gonna
people
say.
that their details do not match. Yeah.
And I think one of the important things about LinkedIn, and I guess everyone in the room can probably speak to this, sometimes the answer is a no, but it's not a never. So this is a way to stay connected with the employer or the recruiter as you go through your job search process. They may not need you at that particular moment, or they may have a better candidate, but what better way to stay in contact with them than to kind of reach out on LinkedIn periodically? Maybe like an item that they published or something of that nature, but you just want to find a way to stay in front of the employer because eventually they may swing back around. It just gives them a way to remember you.
Something will pop up. So I have a question for Paul. When you talked about the community, the programs that you're talking about now, is the community, are they people who've come through Project H.O.M.E itself, or is it open to anyone that needs help in careers and education?
It's actually both. Project H.O.M.E, we have a lot of people that live in our residential sites.
Right.
They need assistance too. And then we serve the community we call them community members. These are just folks that live and reside, within the footprint of us. But it's really greater Philadelphia because we don't really turn anybody down. I mean, we are in the 19121 zip code, so that's close to 19132 as well.
Right.
So a lot of the bulk of the people come from that area, but it's all over.
Every time I walk into the HLC, the Honickman Learning Center, I see someone that I met at the Urban League of Philadelphia or that I bumped into at a career link. The community, the people that are really out searching for jobs will find their way to great resources. And your lab is one of the best labs I've ever seen. The monitors are huge. There's usually someone there that can assist you. I want to apologize to the young lady that I couldn't assist yesterday when she was working on her resume. It was over. She had a template and I just couldn't help her, and I was trying to teach a class. But nonetheless, there's usually, I think she went and grabbed, did she grab you or Greg? She grabbed someone and they came in and helped her. But there's always someone that can help you navigate the process there. And there's a lot of places you might not find that at the free library, and you might not even find that at some other resources that are out there.
The one-on-one, yeah.
Right.
What other do you have classes coming up, or is there a festival that you're talking about?
There's a few things. We have a program called Empower to Employ, and that's something that myself and Larry Adams, we put it together, and we've been doing that for about a year and a couple of months.
Tell me about that program. I'm not familiar.
Okay, well, Empower to Employ is a monthly workshop series. We meet 8 times, so we meet twice a week. Classes are usually between 12:30 and 3. And as far as what we cover, just taking you through the class, we do resumes and cover letters. We do job searching, so some folks may not be proficient at using the computer to search online. We assist. And then we have a huge network of employers. I always plug that because that brings people in.
Yes.
So most of the time they're applying to employers which we have a relationship with, which is fruitful.
Absolutely.
So we do a couple of days of that, which is like an open lab type of thing, or like a jobs club. We do mock interviews, and we also do like PowerPoint type things on like interview skills, like what to expect in an interview, the different types of interviews. So we really spend a lot of time on that, and then we actually have a volunteer who has been a very successful sales professional who has stepped in to assist us every once in a while to do mock interviews, and it's a really, really powerful presentation. When it happens, it's like, even though you don't cover every single question that you can possibly be asked in an interview, she goes into detail about the most relevant questions. Like, like tell me a little bit about yourself, or like what do you know about our company?
Yeah.
Like don't go in an interview not
No,
knowing the answer to those
So
questions.
many candidates that have no idea about the company I work for.
So this all takes place in 1936 North Judson.
Indeed.
Great.
Yeah.
Philly, North Judson. That's between, I want to say, 23rd and 24th, Berks and Norris.
That's correct.
Am I right?
That's correct.
Knowing this city like that
You really
too.
do.
You've been there so many times.
I bet no one. My car takes me to Project Home. Like I get in the car, I'm supposed to be going somewhere else. He just pulls up to Project Home. I said, "No, what? Let me come in and have lunch with Eric."
Right.
So yeah, it's a great place. I know you guys, continue to set an unbelievable tone because you get people from all walks, as you mentioned. And sometimes, this is just me sitting on the outside looking in, but oftentimes you're the last stop for people. Like people are very close to just saying, forget it. And they end up, on your doorstep saying, I need your help. And that's a difficult population to work with because your urgency has to match theirs. And I commend you guys for what you're able to do every day in matching the urgency of the career seekers. That's a true resource for the community.
And I think along those lines, I'm interested to hear a little bit about like how, this is gonna sound not like the most difficult, but like how, what have you helped people, like walking someone from the very beginning of their process, like the most, and maybe this is the question, the most challenging, relationship that you've had with the career seeker and seeing them to employment. Because I can imagine you have a number of those stories, but just to give the listeners an understanding of the context of kind of the work that you are able to do with some of the community members that come to your Project H.O.M.E.
Right. We deal with a lot of people that have various barriers. So barriers could be incarceration, it could be they need daycare, it could be they're homeless, it could be a number of things, mental health issues, drug abuse. It just could be, the possibilities of what these folks face could be endless. I guess I don't have one particular story, but some people, like, what happens is they will get a place through us, and then they will lose their job, and they come right back to us, and it's like a cycle that repeats. It's not a lot of people that happens to, but it does happen. So what we try to do is we really try to give them the tools to be successful. Like we have everything in-house. Like if they need a GED, they can get their GED with us. Or if they need to take additional refresher classes or something, we can try to plug them in that way. It's not easy to do that. It is a challenge, especially when you have other folks coming through the door that need services that you have to help. Sometimes you just got to stop what you're doing and really sit down and listen to that person and what their needs are. We had a gentleman come in, this is probably like 2 months ago, and he was sent to us from one of the CEOs of the company. So it was like, okay, top dog priority, like we really had to jump on it. And actually, it worked out pretty well. I mean, I can't take all the credit for it. Larry
Go ahead
stepped in.
take the credit.
Nah, man. It wasn't. But Larry stepped in and he definitely assisted because he had the connection with the company that we got a job for this guy. And it was literally like, he was like in my office on Monday. Tuesday he had a job.
Wow.
Like, so it definitely feels good when you can do stuff like that. But the other thing is you have to follow up with the job seekers to see how, like, to check the retention and see how they're doing, because they will fall off. So it's kind of up to us to reach back to them, every 30, 60, 90 days and just check in with them and see how they're doing. And
do you ever get feedback from the employers?
We do.
Do they reach back to you to say, hey, this is
We
the
do.
issue? Or,
We do. Usually, it's when they do reach out to us, it's usually not good. But they do check in with us, and we kind of do the same thing with them. No news is usually good news.
Yeah.
But it's important to get feedback. That's kind of what direction you're going in, and then let's say somebody does get fired from their job. It's good to have a relationship with the employer, because then you can reach to the employer and say, look, what happened to Bob? Give you some specifics. Then I can go back and coach Bob and say, well, look, the employer said X, Y, and Z, so maybe this is some things we need to work on so that when you go to the next job, you won't have this same issue. So it really is kind of like putting out the fires, sometimes multiple fires.
Right.
Everyone that I bring to your location, I probably brought 50 different employers. That number's probably even higher, to Project H.O.M.E to either do a session or do a mock interview. Tiffany Southerland came through and actually did a session at Project H.O.M.E. The facility's beautiful. AB, we got to get you up there to do a session at Project H.O.M.E. It's just a great facility. You never know who you're going to bump into as you walk the halls of Project H.O.M.E. I think one of the things that sets the tone for the environment, one of the students from our first Connect to Work class, Miss Janet, she's in the front and she has the warm greeting for you, and she always calls me Kenny. How's it going, Kenny? I'm like, it's going well, but that always puts a smile on your face and it makes you want to go in and kind of help people and work. And it's just that environment is priceless. It really
there's definitely a lot of success stories, you know, definitely.
Sure. So, how would people get in contact with Paul Dunnaville? If I'm interested in coming out to the HLC, even as a career seeker and or an employer, in supporting some of the things that you do, how should they reach out to you?
The best way is to call me. I can give you my number now.
Let's do it.
215-235-2900. That's 215-235-2900. And you can ask for Paul.
So you actually answer phones. That's rare nowadays, right?
Phones are so much better. I get so tired of email. Like, I get so tired of email.
Yeah. I mean, I do have an email, but it's quicker to just go to the phone.
So I'm interested to know a little bit about how you got into becoming a career coach, because I see on your well done LinkedIn profile, another plug for LinkedIn, that you have this digital. First of all, you went to Virginia Tech, and you have this digital music background, and I'm really interested to know how you still do what you still do with and with that interest, and then how you made your transition to becoming a career coach.
I'm glad you asked that question. It's actually a long story. I'll try to piece it down for folks. So where do I begin?
I think you begin with your father, right?
Yeah, well,
where that began?
I could definitely give my pop some credit. My dad used to have my dad's an entrepreneur, and he used to have a shop in Brooklyn with his brother called DeVille's Stereo Car Alarms. So he was a technician. He was an electronics technician, and he used to bring me to work. Wow, Ken.
I remember we had this conversation.
He used to bring me to work, and I would just take apart stuff, just stuff that was already broken. He just, I'm probably 6, 7, 8 years old, and he's just like, look, I need to keep you busy. Here,
Don't mess with that.
take this apart. So I got to give props to him for that, and actually to my parents for giving me my first computer, because I was really big on that type of stuff. But fast forwarding, I got into music production actually late in high school, early in college, and it kind of stayed with me. It's something I've always been passionate about. And then once I moved to Philly back in 2003, I really started getting involved with like after school programs, just nurturing a passion that I've always had to work with the youth.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuck with me, and I was doing that, as a side hustle. And it just got more serious and serious and serious, just networking and meeting people, and then when I got to Project H.O.M.E, there was actually the position that got my foot in the door was a digital music instructor position, which I still do. So I have my hand in 2 different positions at the agency, which is great. So I just kept at it. So I teach digital music for Project H.O.M.E, and I actually work with the teen program, which is the 9th through 12th graders doing it. So we have a blast. We've put out maybe like 3 or 4 albums since I started in 2011.
That's incredible.
And the kids are serious. Like they really want to do something. So it's a good opportunity to teach them about media. And then specifically we use like GarageBand and Logic and Pro Tools and those type of software. And the kids, they're always working on something. We got like a production team. We got like 4 or 5 kids that they just love to make beats. And then we have a group of budding, aspiring rappers, poets, singers, those sorts of things.
It's interesting because every time I speak to a group of young men in the city, the 2 things they want to do when they grow up, be a musician or rapper and a professional basketball player.
Yes.
Those 2 things. So you're at least tying in to a side of that says, all right, you know what, this can happen.
Right.
But it's going to take some work, but it can happen. So I admire you for
Right. Well, here's the kicker. Because I work with the youth, once they kind of matriculate and move on, they still come back to me as a coach, looking for employment. So and this is
you rope them in.
right. And I didn't even think about that was happening until like 2 years ago. I'm like, wait a minute, they're coming back to me. So it's like a good way to build a relationship, like a really tight relationship with these kids.
Because they trust you.
Exactly. And the music kind of opens that relationship up.
Right.
I did want to plug one thing before I go. And I promised Giovanna Richardson that I was going to do this.
Yes, I know Giovanna.
So this is like an accumulation of a year's worth of work that we're showcasing. It's the Digital Arts, the 6th annual Lynn Honickman Digital Arts Festival. It's going to be live music performances, student films, photography, and amazing food served by our culinary students. So it's definitely worth checking out. The date is Wednesday, April 26th. That's next week. 5:30 to 7 o'clock p.m. at the Honickman Learning Center.
Career seekers, you can head over after our show.
Immediately after the show.
You
Hey,
can
maybe
make your
we
way
should
there.
go by. We should probably go by.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting because you have this music background, and we would be remiss to not share that our own Tiffany Southerland is a hidden DJ. She there's a DJ inside of her that she will not release.
That I won't release because I know she's gonna take over my life. But that has been one of the things that I've always admired and respected, the art of DJing, and so my little way of doing that now. I have a podcast, and so I produce my podcast.
Okay.
Which is, every time I say it, I guess I move things around inside GarageBand, and that's called it's like mini production. But But yeah, I would like to be a DJ. Like,
well, you have a Mac, so I mean that's the first.
That's the first step.
That's the first step right there, right? So you know, one day I have my DJ name and everything. I'm gonna leave that on the wraps though, but I'll tell y'all one day. Maybe off the air, I'll let y'all know.
Well, so I guess I would also be remiss without letting everyone know that Alberta wants to be a rapper. So we
gotta get her on wax.
Two of them together.
Or an MP3.
Every word a rapper's delight.
There you go. That's how it starts right there.
You never know what the next Career Seeker show is going to sound like.
Oh my goodness.
Might be a concert in here.
Maybe.
I love it.
Maybe.
Listen, it's I've been wanting to have you on since we started this, so I'm so glad you took the time to kind of hang out with us today, man. I really appreciate it. It's the Career Seeker Show, man. We do it every Wednesday, 4 to 5, so please tune in. I'm going to put it on that board at the Honickman Learning Center. You know, people always tell me there aren't any jobs, so yesterday I posted on the company Facebook page a picture of your board in the computer lab at HLC, which has a whole wall of job opportunities on it. And I'm like, every time I hear someone tell me that there is no jobs out here,
it really just...
You can walk into the Honickman Learning Center and pull down 20 jobs off the board.
It just means that people just need to know how to get them, right?
Sure.
And how to access them.
That's the truth.
And that's exactly what we're here to do. That's what you do, and that's what Project H.O.M.E helps people do. Because it is a matter, like, people can have the skills, but they don't know how to connect the dots to get them to the place, or they can have the desire. And even when I went to the Connect to Work class, a lot of what we were talking about was people's emotional and mental barriers, and not recognizing the strengths that they did have and the skills that they did have, because they were either downplaying them or they were covered by so much other stuff that they were dealing with. And that, I think, is one of the other major barriers that, I'm not even going to try to get that job because someone has told you so many times that you're not good enough. And that, I think that definitely affects a lot of the community that we all work with.
You know, I think technology is such a strong tool to use in your job search. So I was having a Connect to Work class and at the Honickman Learning Center in the lab, and at the time I believe it was probably Mary Randall's. She walks in and she has the new, I don't know, I want to say he's the CEO of the Barnes Museum, right? So she walks in the door with him, right, and introduces him. He speaks to the class. Everything's a go, right? He speaks to the class just off the top for like 10 minutes. I'm like, wow, how great is this? Like, the CEO from the Barnes Museum walks in the door and speaks to these career seekers, right? So he leaves. So I wait about 20 minutes, and then I ask the class, I said, does anybody know where he went to college at? And they said, well, he didn't tell us. And I said, everyone should have Googled him as soon as he said his name. Because there's a ton of jobs at the Barnes Museum that are available, and the CEO is standing in front of you.
Right.
So why not catch him before he leaves and say, hey, listen, you're sitting here in a program to get a job, so your resume's with you.
Right.
You've practiced all the tools. Yeah. And it just, I think sometimes people don't understand that getting the right career opportunity or getting an opportunity is just that. It's an opportunity.
You have to make your own opportunity.
So he came in off the street, not
Yeah.
expecting anything,
Right.
and wow, he leaves with a resume. Chances are he's going to call you. He has to.
Right.
He just spoke to the class for 10 minutes about,
Right.
taking advantage of the resource.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's one of those things. Yeah, you have to work it at all times, career seekers, and that's why we're here. As Tiff was saying, we're here just to provide information. You have some great resources. Alberta, Bertolino. We're bringing people like Paul Dunnaville in. We were just speaking, Paul. I don't know. You do know Mike Robinson. You know Mike.
Everybody knows.
That's what we're finding out,
Yeah,
aren't we?
I'm glad I know him now.
That's right.
Because
That's right.
So Mike was our second guest on the show, actually.
Yeah.
Carla Baptiste was our first.
I saw the pictures, yeah.
Okay, all right, great. Where'd you see the pictures at? On the careerseekers.work website?
Exactly.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it. I
exactly.
appreciate it.
There you go.
I appreciate it. So anyway, Mike has Kimberly Reed, who was on the show as well, doing an effective interview skills workshop today up at Temple at Cecil B. Moore. And it's just, there's so many resources out here for career seekers. And I think your board packages a lot of them as well. I was just at the Urban League of Philadelphia in the Career Center, and I looked on the board, and it had a list of the workshops that you guys are doing at Project H.O.M.E. So we just all support each other.
Absolutely.
That's what you got to do.
So speaking of supporting each other, thank you for supporting us today.
Thank
Once
you
again,
so
career
much,
seeker
Paul.
listeners, Paul Dunnaville, Project H.O.M.E.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure, and let me know when you want me back.
Soon, my friend, very soon, we'd love to have you. So once again, it's another Career Seekers show. We do it every Wednesday, 4 to 5, live on WPPM FM 106.5 in Philadelphia. I'd like to thank our special guest, Paul Dunnaville, for tuning in today and just spending some time with us. Also, like to thank Philly Cam, the Career Seekers team, Alberta Bertolino,
Yes.
Tiffany Southerland,
Oh,
Will
yeah.
Martin, and of course,
Fabulous week.
Kenneth L. Johnson. We'd like to thank the Facebook followers, the live listeners on 106.5.
Yeah, thanks guys. I see who you are.
We'd also like to thank the streamers. Pierre Gomez, I hear you checked in, my friend. I appreciate that. P.A. Mace, this is a crazy story right here. I actually called a friend of mine earlier in the week, and I said, I just called him out of the blue. I said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm actually watching the Career Seekers show on YouTube. I swear, true story. Maceo, good looking out. I appreciate it. Philly, we love you.
Thank you for the support, everyone.
Yo, Gears of the Rap.
It's a wrap, Gold.
WPPM LP Philadelphia Career Seeker Show. That's good. Wait till the song. Yeah, appreciate that.
Thanks for listening, watching, sharing.
How does she do it?
Come back.
How does she do it? Get me rated back on iTunes. I need those downloads.
Share the show. Share the
Yeah,
show.
share this episode. Or is it? I guess we call this an episode. Do we?
I guess so, right?
I'm thinking in podcast
Two-
mode here.
yeah, 2 episodes.
This show, share this show.
2 episodes every Wednesday.
Right.
Yeah.
Good times, good times.
This is good.
If you need to fill that hard to fill position, get in touch with us, East Coast Executives, www.eastcoastexecutives.com. We're the world's #1 diversity recruiting firm. Holla at us. See you next week. Let's go.